The paradox of Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, the artist, the scientist, the architect, the inventor, whose genius has been perceived as the allure of an unfathomable riddle. Leonardo was master of some of the world's most iconic arts. But, historical accounts show that he struggled to complete his works. The words written about Leonardo after he died at Clos-Luce in France on the 2nd of May 1519, hint at a very different man to the one many of us presume to know. According to his first biographer Giorgio Vasari, Leonardo died lamenting that he had offended God and mankind in not having worked at his art as he should have done. A great mind that has compassed the wonders of anatomy, natural philosophy and art, but also failed to complete so many projects. 500 years after his death, researchers from King's College London suggest the best explanation for Leonardo's inability to finish his projects. Researchers present a new hypothesis which proposes da Vinci may have suffered from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Professor Marco Catani, from the Institute of Psychiatry, Psychology and Neuroscience at King's College London, is the study author. In an article in the journal Brain, on the 23rd of May 2019, Professor Catani lays out the evidence supporting his hypothesis. Leonardo's difficulties with sticking to tasks were pervasive from childhood. Accounts from biographers and contemporaries show Leonardo was constantly on the go, often jumping from task to task. Alongside reports of erratic behavior and incomplete projects from fellow artists and patrons, including Pope Leon X, there is indirect evidence to suggest that Leonardo's brain was organized differently compared to average. He was left-handed and likely to be both dyslexic and have a dominance for language in the right-hand side of his brain, all of which are common among people with ADHD. Like many of those suffering with ADHD, he slept very little and worked continuously night and day by alternating rapid cycles of short naps and time awake. ADHD is a highly heritable childhood behavioral disorder characterized by continuous procrastination, the inability to complete tasks, mind-wandering and a restlessness of the body and mind. ADHD is linked to lack of dopamine, which causes impaired executive functions. In modern times, ADHD is increasingly being diagnosed among adults, from the level of intellectual ability and recognized among university students and people with successful careers. In people with ADHD, the altered connections that are important for executive functions can be visualized with diffusion tractography, an MRI technique. Historical accounts of Leonardo's work practices and behavior, as well as his chronic procrastination, ADHD, could have been a factor in Leonardo's extraordinary creativity and achievements across the arts and sciences. ADHD is the most convincing and scientifically plausible hypothesis to explain Leonardo's difficulty in finishing his works. Historical records show Leonardo spent excessive time planning projects but lacked perseverance. ADHD could explain aspects of Leonardo's temperament and his strange mercurial genius. Perhaps the most distinctive and yet disruptive side of Leonardo's mind was his voracious curiosity, which both propelled his creativity and also distracted him. ADHD can have positive effects, such as mind-wandering, which can fuel creativity and originality. However, while beneficial in the initial stages of the creative process, the same traits can be a hindrance when interest shifts to something else. There is a prevailing misconception that ADHD is typical of misbehaving children with low intelligence, destined for a troubled life. On the contrary, most of the adults have a normal childhood, but develop symptoms of anxiety and depression later in life for having failed to achieve their potential. It is incredible that Leonardo considered himself as someone who had failed in life. The case of Leonardo shows that ADHD is not linked to low IQ or lack of creativity but rather the difficulty of capitalizing on natural talents. Hope that Leonardo's legacy can help us to change some of the stigma around ADHD. Thank you.